start. Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Rajiv Jain from Jivaji University, Gwalior. Today we are going to discuss about a module, land pollution arising through high input of agriculture under paper environmental biotechnology. In this module, learning objectives are chemistry of soil, agricultural pollution and health, role of nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium in the soil, micronutrients in soil, how to characterize soil, pesticides, agriculture, and pesticide agriculture pollution. The environmental scientists have paid their attention towards pollution due to the industrial activity. Such pollution was largely confined to the urban areas in cities and towns earlier. Fortunately, now it is possible to control such pollution by effectively arresting the faulty industrial growth and related activities. Much worse is pollution of soil and pollution due to pesticide residues, because that pollution which is taking place in our agricultural fields, in soil is being polluted. This is difficult to control. Less attention has so far been paid toward this problem. As a matter of fact, indiscriminate use of fertilizers and excessive use of pesticides has created a great menace. Both of these products find their way in food chain. They have direct implications on human health. Pollution of lithosphere due to fertilizers or pesticides is so widespread in rural areas that in agricultural country like ours, it is almost impossible to control it. It has much wider ramifications than other kinds of pollution. Chemistry of soil. Agriculture practices affect the quality of soil. Such practice should be environmentally friendly. Pesticide, insecticide, or herbicides are important components of agriculture. Soil consisting of minerals and organic matter is fundamental requirement of agriculture. Weathering of rocks is common to soil. Soil in fact is mixture of minerals, organic matter and water supporting growth of plants. It has loose texture. It contains 5% organic and 95% inorganic matter. Soil show different layers or horizons. Topsoil is used for analysis, but subsoil is rarely analyzed. Large amount of water is needed for the plant cultivation. Soil contains clay, which reacts with water from soil. The soluble manganese and iron are usually encountered in soil. Both are toxic to plants in higher doses. Inorganic colloids from soil absorb toxic matter. The microorganisms thrive on organic matter from soil. If oxalate is present in soil, then calcium dissolves from minerals. Other organic matter in soil is humus, saccharides, nitrogen and phosphorus containing organic compounds. Organic humus contains humic acid and fulvic acid. The humification is a process of formation of the humus. Soil contains hydrogen ions, calcium ions, magnesium ions, potassium ions and sodium ions with low levels of iron, manganese and aluminum ions in hydrolyte form. Common anions present in the soil are carbonate ions, bicarbonate ions, sulfate ions and persulfate ions and halides. The humus possess very high cation exchange capacity like ion exchange resins. Soil acts as buffer and maintains its pH. Acid sulfates are generated by interaction of granite in soil. Plants grow if soil has neutral pH of 7. In area of low rainfall, soil becomes basic by interaction. The exchange of anions by soil is not well defined. At low pH, anions are held by electrostatic attraction, while at high pH, the OW ions cleavage to the soil. The internal structure of the earth is shown in figure 2. From this figure, you can very well see that the first 36 kilometer is upper mantle, the next 40 kilometer is transition zone, while the next 3000 kilometer is lower mantle, and then we have the core of lithosphere. Figure 3 represents lithosphere biosphere interaction. The atmospheric carbon dioxide reacts with silica, carbon, calcium carbonate to return to lithosphere as the great atmospheric sink. This returned these materials to hydrosphere through water vapor and micronutrients from the soil. Soil contains considerable amount of organic matter. Primary minerals such as silica, limestone and dolomites account for 70% of soil mass. As told earlier, clay is also of significance in soil. The humus is present in soil in colloidal form. Biological activity in soil depends upon the form of water present in it. The microorganisms present in soil are also of great relevance. The important microorganisms are algae, protozoa and actinomycetes. If they are present, such soils become productive. These microorganisms play an important role in mineral and fertilizer breakdown in soil formation. A typical fungus produces readily citric acid in soil and then solubilizes silica, aluminum, iron and magnesium in basalt as their anionic citrate complexes. Some convert organic nitrogen to inorganic nitrogen. It is worth considering relation of the soil with crop growth with wastewater. It is interesting to growth of crops on soil fed with industrial effluents. In all such cases, the soil is alkaline with considerable amount of nitrate, nitrogen and phosphorus which are of prime importance for the growth of plants. The contents of exchangeable calcium and magnesium indicate that water is generally hard in nature. This showed that all crops cannot grow well in industrial wastewater. Generally, it is observed that effluents replenish important nutrients of soil and problem of exhaustion of the non-renewable resources of lithosphere is somewhat made up. The yield of crop is generally better in developed countries than in developing countries. For example, the yield of wheat in the USA per acre is 1,440 and rice 2,210. Corresponding figure for India are wheat 760 only and rice 870 pound only. It may be attributed to modern methods of farming in the USA. Now we shall discuss the effect of agricultural pollution on health. In USA, by legislation, the agricultural product has to be free of genetically modified products. Soil has definite influence health of man. Soil promoting good growth of plants was due to presence of higher organic matter in soil. In India, usually the excessive pesticide application contaminates the quality of soil. A pesticide called heptacolor causes cancer as it is carcinogenic compound. It was noted that the PCB level in soil was high in UK. Pesticides from agricultural use are degraded as chemical, photochemical and biodegradation materials. The term desertification refers to loss of fertility of soil, while deforestation is serious loss of forest. Water and wind cause erosion. The prevention of soil erosion is called soil conservation. One such method includes the perennial plant growth as it prevents soil erosion. The soil conservation and protection of water resources are interlinked with one another. The land reforestation conserves both soil and water. In order to know this, The analysis of soil is an important aspect. The agricultural activity influences the chemistry of environment in several ways, like disposal of animal, plant, or food processing waste, the contamination from application of pesticides and fertilizers, depletion of natural soil nutrients, and finally salt and mineral accumulation from irrigation. Thus, agricultural waste is more serious than the solid or liquid waste generated due to industrial activity. The waste from food and milk industry shall pose a serious problem in future. The excessive growth of fruits like oranges in Vidarbha and apples in Kashmir may pose problem of disposal of solid waste. The food processing industry produces more than 60% of waste from fruit peels. No doubt it can be used for animal feed and as manure in soil. Cotton waste is useless as it contains a good amount of pesticide residue, which in the long run is harmful to animal or cattle. The mechanized meat processing industry will produce a liquid waste due to residual blood, flesh, and bones which are difficult to dispose. There is no substantial evidence to prove that fertilizers cause water pollution or contamination, but it leads to excessive release of nitrogen and phosphorus in soil. Nitrate is the worst enemy of high yield farming. Nitrate is reduced to nitrite in the digestive system and causes a disease called methemoglobinemia. Phosphate is also a widespread pollutant in agriculture. It travels much slower in the soil as compared to nitrate, but it promotes eutrophication of effluents with algal bloom. Nitrogen and phosphorus pollution illustrate far-reaching chemical consequences of man's agricultural activity. The agricultural activity removes these materials from lithosphere and drops them into the sea, which is a permanent sink for chemicals. This agricultural pollution represents a permanent and irreversible depletion of the resources of the lithosphere, and steps must be taken to mitigate this menacing problem. So, important thing here in soil, in agriculture, is the nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. So, we shall discuss here role of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium in the soil. Potassium, calcium, and magnesium are called macronutrients in soil. However, the presence of sodium, potassium, phosphorus, commonly known as NPK, are most essential in soil. The calcium is rarely deficient in soil, only in alkaline soil such deficiency has been noted. The availability of magnesium depends upon the ratio of calcium magnesium in soil, as at high ratios magnesium is present less in soil. Less attention has so far been paid towards this problem. As a matter of fact, indiscriminate use of fertilizers and excessive use of pesticides has created a great menace. Both of these products find their way into food chain. They have direct implications on the human health, because when they come in plants, then plants is consumed by animals or man, and they result in different types of diseases. The pollution of lithosphere due to fertilizers or pesticides is so widespread in rural areas that in agriculture country like ours is almost impossible to control it. It has much wider ramifications than other kinds of pollutions. It was provided by legumes, a kind of plants, of leguminous family, which provide ammonia. Ammonium is strongly bound to soil and is conducive for the growth of rice and paddy, while phosphorus is present in low concentrations. It is present as phosphate or phosphoric acid or different forms of phosphorus, but first species is most common, that is in the form of phosphate anion. So little phosphorus is used as fertilizer in the soil. Finally, the role of potassium is very important. It activates some enzymes and it balances level of water in plants. Generally, high input of ca- uh, high input of carbon give good yields for crops. There are various micronutrients in soil such as boron, copper, iron, manganese, molybdenum and zinc, and they are present in very low concentration. They function as components of enzymes. Manganese, iron, chloride, zinc are involved in the process of photosynthesis, while sodium, silicon, cobalt are favorable nutrients. Boron is isomorphously substituted for silicon in soil. So also copper, chromium, cobalt, arsenic, selenium, nickel, lead and cadmium are specific minerals including sulfur. Some plants accumulate high dose of micronutrients. They are called as the hyperaccumulators. For example, nickel and copper get hyperaccumulated in soil. Photoremediation is process where plants accumulate metals in it. The addition of sequestering agents in soil like oxalate enhance the accumulation of micronutrients in soil. Example, uranium with oxalic acid is accumulated as its anionic complex. Mineral contents of the soil gets depleted due to rain, seepage, growth of plants and crops. The soil deficiency in mineral contents is unsuitable for further cultivation. Nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium are essential for growth of plants, but they are replenished through organonitrogen and organophosphorus compounds which are dumped in soil as they sink by plant and vegetable kingdom. However, vitally more important are elements like iron, manganese, zinc, copper, molybdenum and boron, which are most essential for the healthy upkeep of soil. Each and every plant or crop does not need all of these metals, but they thrive better on at least one of them. The plants have a tendency to extract one or more of these metals. The contents of such an element is termed as available element contents, while whatever is available in total soil is termed as the total amount of particular element in the soil. There is a good availability in soil of molybdenum, copper, zinc, and to a lesser extent iron, manganese, cobalt, and aluminum. Calcium, potassium, magnesium, nitrogen, sulfur, and phosphorus are otherwise present in substantial concentrations in the soil. How soil can be characterized? In early years, microscopic examination of the soil was carried out to know its quality, but now chemical analysis is preferred because it gives information on the composition of soil. Soil is studied from the viewpoint of better plant growth for the human consumption. For chemical analysis, soil sample is extracted in acetic acid or ammonium acetate hydrochloric acid or EDTA solution. Such analysis available nutrients reveals in soil. Potassium chloride is used to extract nitrogen from soil. The particle size distribution of soil is also very important. The soil analysis can be done by visual symptoms shown by plants. Before the analysis, sampling and subsampling technique is most essential. Usually, random sampling is preferred. Soil depth must be also recorded during sampling. Soil sample is biologically active, hence dry sample is not taken. Over drying of sample destroys microorganisms. Bulk sample should be divided in subsamples. The dissolution of soil sample depends upon its contents. It can be fused with sodium carbonate in crucible. It is pH of soil water in equilibrium system. The pH gives idea about its metal content and its exchange capacity. Agriculture soil has pH of in between 5 to 8. Zinc, manganese, iron, copper are more mobile at low pH in soil. A high pH induces trace element deficiencies. Microbiological activity is also dependent upon pH. The organic acids, aluminum, have buffering action on soil with the formation of hydroxide as ultimate product. Excess of carbon dioxide increases the pH. Acid-base indicators also identify pH of the soil. Lime requirement of soil. Lime is added to soil if its pH is acidic and is too low. Now, how much lime is to be added? For lowering pH of soil is determined by soil analysis in terms of the exchange capacity, climate, soil, particle size. Type of soil decides the dose of lime to be added to soil so as to lower down its pH. So, students, you have learned, you now know that sodium, phosphorus, potassium, nitrogen has very important in soil, and a particular concentration, particular amount is required. Potassium is very important, but only in a small amount is required because it is very important for activating the enzyme will not work in the absence of potassium. So, for finding out whether the nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium are sufficient in the soil or in what amount they have to be added to keep the fertility of the soil, we have to analyze the soil. We have to analyze phosphorus in soil, what amount of soil phosphorus is present in soil, what it should have in the soil. For that purpose, we usually take a sodium carbonate, sodium bicarbonate solution at about in alkaline pH 8.5 to know available phosphorus in the soil. The extracted phosphate in solution of bicarbonate is analyzed colorimetrically with ammonium molybdenate and potassium antimony tartrate to give molybdenum blue in the presence of reducing agents like ascorbic acid. So in that presence, we can find out by colorimetrically the color developed is find out spectrophotometrically at 882 nanometer the whether it is present in or not. If present, then we can also determine its concentration. What is the concentration? What is the amount of phosphorus in the soil can be determined by spectrophotometric method. So next is the analysis of nitrogen. Because as you must have seen in advertisements in radios and television that there are laboratories in the fields. There are laboratories in rural areas where farmers, agriculturists can submit their soil and can find out the analysis. They will also suggest the amount of fertilizers which are needed so as to balance the concentration of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. The method for the analysis of the available nitrogen is different for total nitrogen. In this process, nitrogen is converted to ammonia and determined titrimetrically as usual if amount is less than 2%. The total nitrogen throws light on the stock of organic nitrogen which is mineralized in typical environment. The nitrogen is determined by Geldahl's method, which is very well known to you, by conversion to ammonia. So formed is measured by titration of colorimetric analysis as usual. It is very well known. You have studied very well Geldahl method from 9th class and determined, and you have done experiment in your lab, and by that method, nitrogen is determined. Exchangeable cation analysis. The factor of the exchangeable cation shows the abundance and presence of nutrient elements in the soil. Ammonia is used to leach cations from soil. Such leached solution is analyzed by atomic absorption spectroscopy. Usually, the amount of sodium, potassium, magnesium, and calcium is ascertained by atomic absorption spectroscopic method. Usually, ammonium acetate or calcium carbonate is used for the preparation of soil extracts before analysis. For determination of trace elements in soil analysis, generally atomic absorption spectroscopy, that is AAS, is used for their analysis as it avoids time-consuming separation techniques. Only spectral interferences must be prevented during analysis, for example, of as calcium ion with phosphate ions forms salt, thereby decreasing absorbance during calcium analysis if silicate is present. It suppresses absorbance of the calcium, magnesium, or iron. To prevent such interferences, lanthanum salt is added as the releasing agent. The interference of incomplete volatilization is usually eliminated by using hotter flame. Physical interference due to variation in density or surface tension or viscosity of sample is eliminated by matching of sample and standard from same solution. The mineral structure of soil is ascertained by X-ray diffraction, for example, clay minerals. In addition, thermal methods are also used for mineralogical investigations, for example, TGA or DTA. The trace elements are accumulated by plants. They are called as hyperaccumulators. In phytoremediation, plants growing on contaminated ground accumulates element and is removed by plant biomass. Another important thing about pollution is the environmental pesticides. These are the chemicals which are used to kill pests. Though they are good to protect crop, they are worst enemies of the environment. Muller was awarded Nobel Prize in 1946 for the discovery of DDT. The famous book Silent Spring by R. Carson brought out the hazardous effect of DDT. Pesticides are generally divided into three categories, such as herbicides like carbamates, triagens. Second is insecticides like organophosphorus or organochlorine compound, and third one is the fungicides like dithiocarbamate. Rodenticides is fourth uncommon class having a naphthothiourea as a member. Chlorinated hydrocarbon pesticides. DDT is important member of this class. These pesticides can be subdivided into alkanes, alkenes, and aromatic hydrocarbons. DDT was obtained from chloral condensation with monochlorobenzene. The other members are heptachlor, indane, aldrin, dialdrin, chlorodane, andrine, and myrex. First four belong to the cyclodione group. Endosulfone also belong to this class. They have low polarity and dipole moment and are lipophilic. Their environmental degradation is slow, with half-life ranging from 2 to 15.5 years in soil. They all ultimately degrade to water and carbon dioxide and other products. All compounds are neurotoxic. The eggshell become thin if sprayed with chlorohydrocarbons. Organophosphorus insecticides. They have high mammalian toxicity. Insecticides like parathion, dichlorous, dimethate, acetylcholine are of this group. They have water-soluble solubilities. Dichlorous is most soluble. They hydrolyze in water. The maximum half-life is 40 days. The bioaccumulation of them is minimum. They arrest enzyme of ester splitting process. Choline esterase facilitates nerve impulse. All of these insecticides cause interference of muscular function. All of them usually contain pentavalent phosphorus. Dichlorous kill flies. Parathion contains sulfur and kill bees. Malathion is most toxic with more sulfur and is used to kill insects in backyards. Carbamate insecticides. They are more expensive than organophosphorus compounds. For example, Begon and carbonyl belong to this class. Carbamatic group is hybrid between ester and amide group and is polar. They are relatively soluble in water and possess limited life in the environment with half-life of 1.5 days to 1 month at the most. In water, they act like organophosphorus insecticide by interference with enzyme mechanism. They are derivatives of carbonic acids. Pyrethrins and pyrethroids. These natural insecticides from flowers of chrysanthemum, they contain polar group and hence oil liquids are lipophilic, high boiling point with high molecular weight. They are used in mosquito coil. Pesticide vaporizes in air and kills mosquitoes. They absorb UV radiation to undergo light-induced photochemical reactions. They are neurotoxic. They are absorbed on insect skin. They exhibit knockdown effect, that is temporary paralysis in insects. L-therin was first synthetic product of this group with low toxicity. Phenoxyacetic acid herbicides, for example, auxins. They are hormone weed killers, are polar and highly soluble in water with low toxicity. Dioxins contain toxic compounds, for example, TCDD, that is tetrachloro-dibenzo-dioxin. Both are used to kill weeds in farms. 1,4-dioxin is most toxic pesticide. A mixture of 2,4-D and 2,4,5,7-T is called Agent Orange. It was used as the defoliant in war. Dioxin is used as preservative and silicates for wood production. Next one is polychlorinated biphenyl. They are not truly insecticides but are toxic. They do not easily degrade. They are insoluble in water but soluble in hydrophobic media. They have low BP, good electric insulators and plasticizers. By heating, they give furans. The cooking oil, if contaminated by PCB or furan, leads to skin discoloration. So we must destroy PCB at 1200 degrees centigrade. Similar to PCB, furan is another important polyaromatic hydrocarbon which is also great environmental hazard. So next, a very important pollutant here which we are discussing is pesticide. Pesticides are essential. We cannot do anything without pesticide. We have to add pesticides, but they have adverse effects on pesticides. What adverse effect they have? Such effects have been extensively effects of pesticides have been extensively studied. In absence of pesticide, crop production would decrease due to the consumption by insects. They control diseases spread by insects. For example, DDT kills mosquitoes and stops spread of malaria, and thus different types of plants can be saved. Insects on constant use develop immunity and are not killed by the insecticide. If we are continuously using insecticide, then they develop immunity and that they cannot be killed by insecticide. Pests on frequent use of pesticide demonstrate resistance to DDT and other compounds. The resistance was also problem with the use of different types of antibiotics in plants for killing different types of infections. Pesticides also cause harm to species. For example, to bee, they cause harm. But bees are useful to us, but they cause harm to species which are useful to us. They cause great changes in ecosystem. The consequences on human health are serious. They promote occupational illness, or, uh, organophosphorus. Pesticides can cause instantaneous death. Agriculture pollution due to pesticides. Herbicides and insecticides are integral part of agriculture production, which in turn related to soil. The market is large for minor pesticides. 40% of the monetary value of agricultural pesticides stays in its minor use. The contamination of soil occurs due to its interaction with water-containing pesticides. Those used to control invertebrates are called as the insecticides, while for control of snails is used mollusk acids, and roundworms are controlled by nematicides. Vertebrates are killed by rodenticides to kill rodents. Avicides are used to repel birds. Pesticides control fish population. Herbicides are used to kill plants, while fungicides are used to kill fungi, just as bactericides are used to demolish by algicides. The application of insecticides or herbicides in agriculture is most important as axes had bad effect on health of man. In view of the importance of pesticides in environment, we would consider effects of the pesticide like DDT, organophosphorus, insecticides, carbamates, herbicides, and polychlorinated biphenyls. The pesticides are the worst enemy of man on this planet. It not only contaminates lithosphere but also pollutes the atmosphere. Pesticides include herbicides, insecticides, fungicides, or rodenticides. These are persistent pollutants obtained during interaction of lithosphere and biosphere. They are cumulative poisons in the body. They usually accumulate in food chain and are hence hazardous. Few of them undergo metabolic formation and biodegradation. The pesticide residues so formed by degradation is more dangerous than the parent compound. Usually, the breakdown in the environment involving either of the following processes, namely oxidation, dehydrogenation, reduction, conjugation, like metal complex formation, hydrolytic reaction like cleavage, exchange reaction, and sometimes isomerization. The reaction in body involves interaction with iron porphyrins. Several residues are carcinogenic. The metabolic products are also dangerous. Some arsenic pesticides have made soil permanently infertile. They may sometimes increase instead of decreasing pest population due to the effects of immunization. A pesticide like DDT changes fertility of mammals. Pesticides thus pose an alarming problem for mankind. DDT kills mosquitoes which spread malaria. In spite of this, its use in developed countries has gone down due to its harmful effects. However, the production has remained same due to its consumption by developing countries. Its indiscriminate application poses a serious problem and should be avoided. So, students, let us summarize what we have learned in this module. In this module, we have learned how pollution through agriculture. In this module, we have learned how pollution is being, how our agriculture or our agricultural land or our soil is being polluted. It It also includes general chemistry of soil. We have learned what is the general chemistry of soil, what are the different layers in the soil, and what are the different micronutrients are present in soil, what are the macronutrients, what are the micronutrients in soil, how soil is polluted, how different nutrients can be estimated, NPK, how they can be analyzed. All this we have learned. We have also learned harmful effects of the different types of pesticides, how uh, they can be checked, what provisions should be taken so that the minimum use of pesticides, so pesticides are used to the minimum. Thank you, students.